You are not going to die alone. Okay? You heard me. I have your attention. Welcome back to You Will Be Okay. And today's episode is probably one of the most important ones because today I'm discussing a struggle that I deal with, hear about every single day in my DMs with my clients who I work with all day, all ages, all ethnicities, all countries. Is that fear I am going to end up alone. I am going to be the exception. I am too old. I am not enough. I am too much. I'm too damaged. I'm too broken. Whatever the case, the conclusion seems to always round back to that one devastating faulty belief. I'm going to end up alone. And I relate to this because I lived in that space for so long. And yes, I know that I got married relatively young. I got married when I was 30. But throughout my 20s, I was just so convinced that I was too broken to ever be lovable. I actually was looking at my old journal the other day and I have an entry that I wrote, I think I was around 25. And I was like, the concept of somebody loving me enough to want to spend their life with me is just so outrageous to me. I could never even fathom it. And I truly felt that way. And then 4 years later, I was dating my husband. Things can turn around faster than you think. And what's keeping you stuck more than anything else, and what is pushing love away more than anything else, is this fear. Is this fear that you're going to end up alone? So today we're going to talk about how to get rid of that fear because it's not serving you in any way. And we're going to talk about how to date from a place of confidence and feeling good and being detached. Where are you? Detached? Detached, being detached. Okay. So stick around. If you've ever had this fear, this episode is for you. Okay. So, as I've discussed in other episodes on this podcast, and I do want to do a whole episode on how I overcame my disorganized attachment style because I feel like a lot of people box themselves into their attachment style and they don't realize that there is a way out and you can transcend. And I was disorganized, which means I was both anxious and avoidant, which is the hardest one to overcome. And if I could overcome that and land in a place, if I had to label myself now, I would say I'm secure slash avoidant. So I'm not disorganized anymore, definitely not anxious at all anymore. And it helps that I am married to a very secure partner. So I would say I lean more towards like secure slash avoidant. And I'm working on the avoidant piece. And maybe someday I will fully be in the secure box. But you can transcend. And I would like to talk about that more with you guys. So as always, share your thoughts, feedback, and let me know if that's something that you want me to cover in more depth. So the reason I was so convinced for so long that I was going to end up alone is because my pattern with my disorganized attachment style was I would either be obsessed with guys who were emotionally broken or damaged or unavailable. And I was all in the limerence and attaching onto them. And these guys were usually a little bit lukewarm about me. And I would just make it my mission to get them to fall desperately in love with me, which obviously never works. So I'm either like head over heels for these guys that I barely even know, or the guys who are emotionally available and would be great for me and would treat me so well. I was like, no, like ick. You know, like that Groucho Marx saying where he says, I would never want to be part of a club that would have me as a member. That was me. Like, if you want to date me and you're like all in and obsessed with me, there obviously must be something wrong with you. And obviously, that was a reflection of the way that I felt about myself. And it didn't help matters that the first guy that I ever, well, I said, I thought I loved him at the time. It felt like love. It was really a horrific trauma bond with a narcissist. But he had said something to me that got so wired into my subconscious and I never challenged it. And that's what really perpetuated that fear that I'm going to end up alone. So the thing with him is, even though we were together for like a year and spent every single day together, did everything together, were with each other all the time, he refused to call me his girlfriend. And I stuck around and kept trying and kept trying. And then one day he said to me, the reason I chose you is because I knew I would never breed with someone like you. Meaning he knew that he would never get too attached to me because I wasn't long term potential. I didn't even really fight back. I didn't even say I'm leaving. 'Cause obviously, I had no self respect. Instead, I internalized it was a belief that I had already had, which is the reason I was in that relationship in the first place, or situationship, or whatever we want to call it, that I'm broken. And he just confirmed it for me. And because he's someone who I considered like his opinion to be the only one in the entire world that mattered, that made a huge impression. And I didn't challenge it. I didn't challenge it for the entire decade of my 20s. We think that these things, okay, something happens, we get hurt, you move on, you're not consciously thinking about it all the time, but these things stay with us. They get wired in and we don't challenge them. And that's what keeps us so stuck. And we don't even realize that the reason that we feel the way we do is not due to anything that is happening in our lives currently. We're reacting to things that happened in the past, and we're operating under these faulty beliefs that have no relevance to our present day reality. Okay. So that's what it looked like for me. I really felt like, how am I ever going to have a reciprocal relationship? It just seemed absolutely impossible. And I really started to panic when I was 29. And I always knew I wanted to have a lot of kids. I always wanted to have four, and I do have four. I always wanted that for myself. And I'm doing the numbers in my head. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to find someone. We need to date for a while. We need a while to be engaged, to be married. Then who knows how long it's going to take to get pregnant. I don't want to have one after the next. And I started to panic. And that was when I entered my summer of me phase. And I did another episode about that. I also talk about that whole process in my book, Detached. And I was able to undo that fear. And really, undoing that fear and detachment kind of go hand in hand. And once I did, that is when everything opened up. I mean, all of a sudden, yeah, I started dating my husband. All these other guys wanted to date me. All these possibilities were presenting themselves to me because the fear keeps us blocked. Okay. Once you stop being afraid, I'm telling you this, your face changes. Your face changes. I say this to my clients all the time. And it's so funny. One of my clients recently said to me, because I told her in the very beginning, I'm like, you're going to know when you're loosening up, when you're entering more of that detachment phase, when you're releasing the fear, because your face is going to start to change. And I see it all the time with my clients. And she was kind of like skeptical, as they all are. And then we were already halfway through our time together. And she was like, Sabrina, you're not going to believe this. Everyone keeps telling me that I look different and my face looks different. And now I'm like, I see it too. It's just this release. Okay. Okay. So we're going to look at why the fear of ending up alone is so common, how it is sabotaging your dating life, and how to rebuild and date from a place of confidence and security. Okay. By the end of this episode, I want you to feel so grounded and hopeful and confident that love is absolutely available to you. And that just because things aren't working out the way that you want them to doesn't mean things aren't going to work out the way they are meant to. I fully believe this with every fiber of my being. And write that down because you should internalize it as well. All right. So, where does the fear of ending up alone come from? The first part of it is societal pressure. I feel like it's so interesting because I got married at 30. And at the time, I felt like I was getting married late. I felt like I was a late bloomer. But now I feel like getting married at 30, you're like a child bride. That's considered really young. But there is a certain amount of societal pressure, especially for women who want children, and the biological clock and that number 35 is like looming over you. And I had two of my babies after 35. And yes, they put geriatric pregnancy on top of all your paperwork, and it doesn't feel so good, and you get age shamed. But you know what? Those babies are healthy and they're fine. And I know so many people who've had babies after 35. But there is that societal pressure, especially on women, to get married and have babies by a certain point. I mean, it's a societal pressure. There is a biological pressure. At the same time, I mean, we've come so far in terms of technological advancement in the realms of fertility that 35 now, age doesn't mean the same thing that it used to. I know several women at 50 had their first babies. Okay. Like the things that we can do these days are unbelievable, but still there is that pressure. There are also cultural and family expectations, especially within certain ethnicities, certain religions, like where the norm is to get married very young. For some, I mean, if you're not married by 25, you're like over the hill. It's like, what's wrong with you? And then you really internalize that as, oh my God, like what is wrong with me? And so that really varies, but that can just add so much more to it, especially if you're in a community where people do get very young and you're going to all these weddings and everyone's asking you, when is your turn? When is it going to be your turn? That can really make you feel defective. It absolutely can. There's also past heartbreaks, attachment wounds, and internalized beliefs about being too much or not enough, which is like what I was describing before. A lot of those past heartbreaks can just compound over time, and you feel like there's something wrong with me. Like, why can't I ever get it right? Why are all my relationships toxic? Or maybe you've never had a relationship. I see that a lot. And there's so much shame attached to it, especially women who come to me in their late 20s, early 30s. I'm like, I've never had a boyfriend before. All I've ever had are just these random like situationships that don't really go anywhere. And they feel like if I've never even had a boyfriend, how am I ever going to find like a life partner? Our brains crave patterns. So what happens is you look at your past. You're not consciously doing this, but you take in stock of the past. All my relationships have failed. I've never had a relationship. Guys don't ever seem interested in me. I don't make it past the third date or whatever it is. And you use that to predict the future. Okay. I had one client recently who had been single for a long stretch of time. She'd been single for 5 years. Then she got into a relationship, and it was actually a really good relationship overall, but there was just one issue that they just couldn't overcome, and it was an issue coming from his end, stuff that he was dealing with that he just couldn't get through, and it was taking a huge toll on her in the relationship. Anyway, the relationship ended up ending. She really gave it her all. She fought for it. It just couldn't work. You need two people need to be committed to making it work. And she was like, oh man, now it's going to be like another 5 years before I meet someone. And it's like, huh? Like, what do you mean? You can meet your next boyfriend like next week. But that's not the way that we think. We always look in terms of patterns. And so we look at what has the pattern been thus far, and we think, oh, that's probably how things are going to go. We look at, I've never had a healthy relationship. I never will have a healthy relationship. I've never had a relationship. I never will have a relationship. This is your brain trying to keep you safe. This is not your brain. Your brain is not designed to make you happy or fulfilled. Your brain is designed to keep you safe and to protect you and to make you survive. And the way to do that is to have predictability, to know what to expect. And so that's why you stay stuck in that mode. But the truth is, because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it never will. So many people find their partners later in life. Is it ideal for everyone? No. And that goes back to what I was saying before. Okay, maybe it's not happening the way that you wanted it to. And unfortunately, that's life. We only have so much control. We only have so much control. Like, we have to take control of what's under our control, and then you have to just surrender and trust the rest. But that doesn't mean you never will. I work with women from their 20s all the way through their 60s. And I see women in their 60s ending up in their first healthy relationship ever at that age when they had long since said that they are out of the game. They're never going to find someone. You're the one placing the limitation on yourself. That's what's important to realize here. This is not an objective truth. This is a truth that you're holding onto. And we're going to talk about why that is. Here's a question that I want you to consider for a moment. What is the emotional payoff that you get from believing that you are going to end up alone? What do you get to avoid by holding on to that story? Because here is the thing where, and this is what makes it feel confusing. You can want a relationship very badly, and you can feel like, I'm ready. I'm here for it. I'm ready for my person. But your fear can override that readiness, and it can keep you blocked, and it can keep you going for emotionally unavailable people, or keep you from going for anybody, getting the ick, finding reasons to write every single guy off. So a lot of the time you can want something very badly, but your fear can completely hijack your whole system. But the reason you're holding on to the belief is because you're getting some sort of benefit from it. Is it that, well, I feel like I'm just being realistic. Look at what my life has been thus far. I've never found anyone. I never find anyone on the apps. Guys don't approach me when I go out. So doesn't that, like, I'm just being realistic by thinking that I'm going to end up alone? Or I don't want to get my hopes high. This is another big one. You think, well, if I get my hopes up too high, then I'm setting myself up for being disappointed. So I would rather just continue to live in the land of disappointment. It's so silly when you say it out loud, but this is the mechanism. This is what's happening. So really spend some time on this, even journal about it if you I have story after story after story of women of all ages who were convinced they would never ever find anyone, who been through horrific divorces, who feel like they're too old, it's too late, or women just like me who feel like they're too broken. And honestly, every single client story in my book is like to the letter how it happened, to the point where like I went back, I looked at our text messages, I copy pasted text messages so you guys can really see yourself in these women who I've worked with and I've helped through this. And I included so many of those stories because I want you to know that it's possible. and that the thing that's getting in your way is you. And that's a good thing because you have control over you. It's not because there's no men out there. It's not because men are all jerks and commitment phobes. It's because you're too scared. And you are not the exception here. Most people who want to find love and get married and have a committed partnership and do some degree of inner work on themselves, do end up finding someone. They do, okay? Listen to me. Play this on repeat if you have to. They do. You are not the exception. You are not. You are the rule. Don't compare yourself to that crazy kooky aunt you have or some outlier. You're not her. That is not you. That is not your path. If you're listening to this podcast, it means that you are somebody who wants to improve, who wants to grow, who wants to change, and you will get there. Now let's talk about the danger of dating from fear, okay? I always say that any decision you make out of fear is usually the wrong decision. So anytime fear is steering the ship, then you're on the wrong path and you really need to course correct. So what happens when you date from fear? You might settle for less or you might chase unavailable people. The settling for less is because you're like, well, this is better than nothing. And who knows when I'm going to find the next person. The going for unavailable people is because your subconscious mind is always looking to prove itself right. And so if you are telling yourself, I'm going to end up alone, you're going to go for people that validate the way that you feel about yourself. A good question to ask yourself is look at your dating patterns. Look at the guys you are attracted to and the guys that you're attracting. And ask yourself, in what ways am I a match for this? If all you're attracting is emotionally unavailable partners and that's all you're attracted to, you need to look at in what ways am I emotionally unavailable? Because you are what you attract what you are. Okay? So that's something really important to look at. Another thing that happens when you date from a place of fear is overanalyzing every text, every reaction, because when you're dating from fear, there is so much at stake. And you are coming from such a scarcity mindset that you feel like if this doesn't work out, who knows when the next one will come along. And so you try to protect yourself, you try to regain a sense of control over something that is completely out of your control by analyzing, by just obsessing, and that does not take you to a good place. It expends so much emotional energy. It gets you more and more attached to this person who is just not meeting you where you're at. It can also cause you to become overly available or clingy, and this is just a turnoff. It's a turnoff. No one wants to be responsible for someone else's emotional well-being. We don't, and it's not your partner's job. Your partner can certainly contribute to your happiness, and of course, like if there are things that you need from them or certain things that they do that are hurtful to you, they should hold space for that, but they are not responsible for making you feel good enough. And when you are coming from a place of fear, that is what you're doing. You're constantly on this quest for other people to give you a sense of safety that only you can give yourself. Okay. Another thing that happens is you might confuse familiarity with compatibility, meaning a lot of the time we are drawn to what feels familiar, even if that is not what's right for us. So look at your history, look at your ideas of love and what it's supposed to look like, and start challenging that. Maybe your caregivers, when you were growing up, love was very much conditional. And so you stay in situations for way too long. Yeah, I've worked with women who stayed in situationships for years because you believe that, oh, love is something that you have to work for. You have to perform for. You have to you have to do bend over backwards to make the other person happy. So you really need to look at your definitions of love and where that came from and create a healthier blueprint for yourself. When you're dating out of fear, the energy is desperate, and desperate never attracts devotion. Desperation repels. The stink of desperation ruins everything. Okay? Desperation, fear, they go hand in hand. Okay, so we've looked at what the problem is here, right? We looked at why it's not good to date from a place of fear. So, how do we fix this? How do we eliminate the fear? First, you must work on your self worth and your confidence. It always leads back to the same place because that's the answer. That's the answer to everything. Being confident is trusting yourself. It is about trusting yourself and knowing that you will be okay, right? Like the name of this podcast, you will be okay no matter what happens. So if someone doesn't want to be with you, you must trust. You must know that you have enough going for you. You are incredible. You are worthy, and you are going to find someone else. Somebody walking away is not the end of the world. It's a good thing. It's a gift. You don't want to invest time and energy into someone who just is not the right person for you. Okay. Fear repels, confidence attracts. So, how do we build it? First, we need to address the self worth piece. You really need to look at the way that you are speaking to yourself and the things that you believe about yourself. I want you to start noticing throughout the day every thought you have about yourself and write it down and then track how many of these thoughts are negative and how many are positive. I guarantee they're overwhelmingly going to be negative. I'm stupid. I'm fat. I'm lazy. I never get it right. I'm too much, whatever it is. What really helps is journaling. Journaling really puts you in touch with yourself. So many of us live in a state of autopilot. We numb out. We're just not present with who we are. Even 5 minutes a day, it doesn't have to be a big thing. No one's going to be reading it. Just get it out there. Let it out. I am also a big proponent of affirmations. My clients are always like a little bit skeptical about this when I suggest it, and I usually craft specific ones for them, but they work. They work. I can't even tell you like the big shifts and changes I see. Some good ones you could do is I am complete on my own. I am worthy of a healthy, loving relationship. I am worthy of love. Okay. Next is you have to work on your boundaries. Boundaries and self worth go hand in hand. Boundaries are not about control, they're about self respect and protecting your peace and your well being. Examples are saying no to last minute plans or not tolerating mixed signals. Or if you want a relationship and somebody says to you that they don't want that, then you respect your own boundaries and respect their boundaries. Their boundary is, I don't want a relationship. Okay, so I'm not going to stick around and try to get you to change your mind because that is disrespecting your boundaries. And I'm going to respect my own boundaries by not signing up for this situation that I know is not what I want. It's also very important to adopt a growth mindset. Every experience teaches you something. You're not repeating the past. When we think that everything that happens is a reflection of who we are and it's always going to be that way, that is a fixed mindset. And that is very limited. And having a fixed mindset makes you more prone to ruminating about the past, having a very hard time letting go of rejection, letting go of heartbreak, letting go of breakups. We're always learning, we're always evolving. Nothing is a waste of time. It is always teaching us something either about love or about ourselves. Okay, so here are some practical tools. List 15 to 20 things that you love about yourself. That you are like, you know what? This is I feel like we're so primed not to seem arrogant or not to seem, God forbid, narcissistic. This is not narcissistic. We are working on tapping into what is good and worthy about us. Okay? Next, practice confident body language. Smile, stand tall, do that power pose, which like changes your hormones and brain chemistry. Watch that TED talk for more on that. I forgot whose TED talk it is. If you TED talk power pose TED talk, you'll find it. Stand tall, make eye contact, and remember rejection is a good thing. It is redirection. One of my favorite quotes is from the book Worthy by Jamie Lima Kern, or is it Jamie Kern Lima? I always mix that up. I haven't been rejected. My creator hid my value from someone who wasn't meant to see it. That's like a paraphrase way around. Okay. You haven't been rejected. This person was just not assigned to your destiny. Okay. Now, here are a few perspective shifts that I want you to adopt. First, dating is not a measure of your worth. Dating is a discovery process. You're not trying to win them over. You're just evaluating compatibility. You are just looking to see if you want to spend more time with that person. That is it. Next, focus on what you bring, not what you lack. Stop letting yourself be defined by the past because it has no bearing on who you are right now. And all dating and rejection, all of that, it's just data. It's not a diagnosis. It's not telling you anything about yourself. Your happiness does not begin and end with a relationship. And you need to find that safety within yourself to know that I will be okay no matter what. I will find my person. If I told you that within the next 6 months, you are going to meet your soulmate, how would you show up today? What would it look like? I imagine that if you went on a date with someone and it didn't go the way you hoped, you would say, oh well. Or if a guy ghosted you, you would say, oh well, like, I guess this just wasn't my person. You wouldn't spiral and think another rejection, more confirmation that I am just a loser. Instead, you would just let things go because you would trust that your person was on the way. So if you had that knowledge, how would you show up? And what is stopping you from showing up that way today? Now, in terms of practicalities, okay, put yourself out there, right? Like, from the external standpoint, the more you're out there in the world, the more you increase your chances of finding someone. This doesn't just mean singles events, it just means being out in the world. Do volunteer work, join a sports league, play pickleball. I have so many clients that are like meeting guys through pickleball. Play dodgeball, join a softball league, join a bowling league. Like there are so many things to do. Pick something that's going to get you out of the house and meeting new people because you absolutely never know who you will find. Also, push yourself to I know that people don't always love this, but those speed dating events can be very effective. And if anything, it helps you build your confidence, build your charisma, build your flirting skills. Just get out there. Push yourself to get out there a little bit more than you have been. Expand your parameters on your dating apps. Like I have one client who met her husband and and they were both on the same dating apps, but she never would have met him on the dating apps because he's a few years younger than her. And she was like, I never thought that I would go for a guy who's younger. And they ended up meeting organically. And it just so happened she lives in a tiny town. She's in her 40s, divorced, and she was like, I'm never going to find anyone, never going to find anyone. I know every single man in this town. Well, it turned out he lived around the corner from her. And it was only when she released all her limiting beliefs, when she got rid of that fear that she was going to end up alone, that he came into her life. No, I'm telling you, there is a real magic to this. Like, if you open yourself to the possibilities, you'll start seeing it. Okay, so push yourself to get out there, do something. And then there's also the inner work piece, which we talked about a lot today. Do that inner work. And if you need more help, more assistance, first of all, I obviously highly recommend reading my book because I cover a lot of these concepts much more extensively. We get really granular, and I really just hammer it in so that by the end of it, like we're free. We're free of this nonsense, of this belief that we're going to end up alone. I also have a coaching program where you work very closely with me personally. I'm guiding you through this process every step of the way. That is a little bit more on the expensive side. So if you just want more content like this, but just much more depth, I have an inner circle platform where I have dozens of ebooks. I have masterclasses. You can get my mini course on detachment, my summer of you course, where I walk you through the exact process that I went through to completely transform myself. We have a group chat. I'm in there offering support, answering your questions. And that is only $36 a month. Oh, we also do a live class once a month and you can ask me questions. We do live coaching and it's great. It's amazing. So there are lots of ways to really do this work. If you want to do it with me, if you want to do it with someone else, do it. Just do it. Just do it. I don't care how you do it. Just do it. Do it with whoever speaks to you. Okay, that is all I have for you today. Please do me a quick favor and leave a review, a rating, or if you're on YouTube or Spotify, leave a comment. First of all, I love hearing from you because your feedback helps me shape this show and what it is turning into, because I want to give you guys what you want here. And the reviews, the stars, those are just so helpful. I can't even tell you, this is still a pretty new podcast. We're not even a year old. And all that stuff is really, really helpful. And while you're in the giving, reviewing spirit, if you've read my book, make sure to head to Amazon and review that as well. The more reviews it gets, I didn't even know this about Amazon, but the more reviews a book gets, the more Amazon will show it to more people. And it's such a powerful message. And that book is something I'm so proud of. And I just want as many people as possible to get their hands on it because it truly is life-changing. So you can be a part of that and help change people's lives and get us all out of this horrible, horrendous mindset of being so scared, because nobody deserves to live like that. Okay, thanks for being here, and I will see you next time.